Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first of our mini series, Survivors. I am seriously excited and looking forward to every single interview. This is something unique, this is something fresh, and I'm really hoping that you, as the viewer, will be motivated, inspired as we go through, as you've seen in our advertisements, true stories that will impact your life. True stories that will impact your life. That's as simple as it is. I'm just going to be interviewing every evening a real person, an average person, so to speak, someone just like you, coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, sharing their stories of their experience of how they came to make that decision to one day say, you know what, I want to follow Christ. I want to follow God, as it were. And I'm just hoping that, you're going to be inspired. Invite your friends, invite your family. This is designed for everybody who's willing to just hear somebody's story and someone's life experience. So my first guest with me is my friend Claire. And you know what? I've been practicing your surname and it just came to my mind. I was like, I didn't practice hard enough. So I'm going to let Claire introduce herself and then we'll just get right into it. So Claire, just a brief introduction, who you are, where you from. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Hello, my name is Claire Sobkowiak. Little taster for you there, Mike. Claire Sobkowiak. I hail from West London, although I have spent time in different parts of London growing up. I'm not ashamed to say that I am almost 38 years old. I am not ashamed to say that at all. And I am married. I have two girls, a 6 year old and a 3 year old, and we're done on that one as well. Um, and yeah, I'm studying to be a teacher. And at the moment, life is crazy, but that's kind of what I think everyone's reality is at the moment. And I'm just trying to press through as much as I can.
Yes, yes, yes. Sobkowiak. Sobkowiak.
That's the
All
one.
right, all right, all right. Great, great. Yeah, man. It's my pet peeve when we hear names that we're not used to. We just kind of just don't try hard enough. I don't like that. So Sobkowiak, Sobkowiak. All right. So first question, Claire, is you give us an introduction. Tell us one interesting fact. 5 years. One interesting fact about yourself.
Well, hopefully you'll find it interesting,
Right.
Mike, and hopefully the viewers will as well. Will as well. But you may be surprised to know the name might give it away. But I am married to a Polish man.
Okay.
Now, in 2021, not that we should necessarily have to be highlighting this as
Right.
something that is maybe not of the norm,
Right.
but I get the raised eyebrows and I get a lot of big eyes and a lot of big questions when I say my name, especially when I say it to Polish people. They are knocked for six. So for me, that's my interesting fact. I have quite a few other interesting facts about maybe things before I became a Sobkowiak, but that's been my reality for nearly 2 decades now.
Okay.
So I'm happy to say that I'm married to a Polish man, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. You said you've. So how long you've been married for then?
We've been married 8 years, but we've been
Okay.
together for nearly 16. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, we were
Wow.
together.
Yeah,
It
man.
made me wait a long time.
You don't got history, man. Yeah, man. You
A
got a good
lot.
man there, man. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Tell him I said salute.
He probably will salute back, which will be pointless, but I will definitely tell him.
Cool, cool. All right. So, share with us one of your favorite quotes. Yeah, just and it doesn't have to be religious. Just one of your favorite quotes that you just love out there.
I heard something. I used to be a retail manager. I was a retail manager for 17 years, and I would was bouncing around between different brands. I've worked for probably every brand you can think of.
Right.
And I was at a conference one time, and I had to continuously go to these conferences, which at the time I absolutely hated doing, but in hindsight now, I feel like they were really, really helpful things. And it was an HR conference that I had gone to, and this woman was giving this presentation. And one of the quotes that she came out with has stuck with me. When that conference would have been well over 10 years ago now.
Right.
And it has stuck with me and resonated and really helped me through some tough times, to be fair. And that is, and maybe it wasn't worded exactly this way, but this
Right.
was my interpretation of it. She said, hating somebody or feeling consistent anger towards somebody is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And
The
it really resonated with me because it made me realize that I have unconsciously been carrying around with me anger and fuming and rage and feeling justified in doing that because people had done me away. And
mm,
actually, all I was doing was hurting myself and
mm,
expecting them to be hurt because I had locked them off, or,
right.
I was treating them away, or whatever the case
Right.
was. So that has resonated with me and stayed with me. And whenever I say it to anybody else, they always go, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. So yeah, for me, that's powerful. That's
Wow,
powerful.
wow. I wonder if we're gonna probably come back to. I want to come back to. I don't know if that's going to be in your story, your journey, but I want to come back because it sounds like there's a lot behind that statement when you said there was a lot of emotion. So, yeah, man. All right. So, yeah. Hopefully we can plug that in because I would like to, if there's time, for you to really bring out some of your experiences with that. So, currently you're a professed Christian. How long have you been a Christian? And it's two kind of questions in one. And did you grow up going to church?
So I grew up in a Church of England church,
Okay.
and I would attend church every Sunday with my grandparents because my mum has never been particularly religious.
Right.
My dad is a Seventh Day Adventist and has been, I would say, maybe, I'm not entirely sure on the date, but I believe that he was baptized in the year or so after I was born.
All right. Okay.
My mum and dad had myself and my older sister when they were 16 and 18.
Oh, wow.
So they were very, very young. And by the time I came along, they realized it just wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. And
Okay.
he went off. And unfortunately, I didn't see him again for a very, very long time.
Right.
So I grew up in the Church of England church, believing in God, being a self professed Christian. I went to a Roman Catholic high school.
Okay.
And one of the ways that I got into this Roman Catholic high school is that my granddad sorted out a shotgun baptism because you had to be baptized to go into this Catholic
Oh,
church,
right,
Roman
right,
Catholic church. Sorry, this Roman Catholic high school.
right,
So I was baptized, and I used I use it loosely,
right,
into the Church of England church, and always really had an issue with it, if I'm honest, Mike. I
right.
can remember quite clearly. I'm sure you'll know we were born of a certain age and with a certain generation, but I can remember quite clearly, receiving what can only be described as licks when I was a lot younger, because in the Church of England church, I think it's Palm Sunday,
Okay.
where they bring the statue of Jesus up on the cross, and
Right.
you're supposed to go and kiss the feet
All
of this
right.
statue.
Okay. I never
And
knew that. Okay.
yeah, no, I was very young. I was probably about 7 when I first went, well, what am I doing that for?
Right.
And my granddad, really embarrassed, was just like, go on, you're in the choir and you go to your Sunday school and you've got to make sure that you put on your airs and graces. You need to do it. Anyhow, long
Yeah.
story short, I refused. Took licks when I got home. And from that moment, I knew something, for me anyway, didn't feel particularly right.
Right.
I had remembered what I'd learned in Sunday school about idols and, the commandments surrounding that. And it
Right.
seemed to me to be so obviously idol worshipping, because this was a statue.
Right.
Even at 7 or 8 years old, I could appreciate this was a statue.
Right.
So I did continue to go, but if I'm honest, it was for my grandparents,
Right.
predominantly for my granddad. I know how proud he was that I was in the choir. I was doing the solos, and I was going to Sunday school, and everybody knew my name, and it was really important to him.
Right.
But then, unfortunately, as families sometimes do, my grandparents and my mum fell out on a very, very large scale, and it
Okay.
impacted me seeing them. And I
Right.
didn't see them probably for a couple of years.
Your
And so,
grandparents.
yeah, my grandparents.
Right.
And so at that time, I naturally just stopped going to church. And this was around the age of
Oh.
about 11, I would say,
Okay.
just as I was entering high school.
Right.
And I didn't really think about think about religion again. I'd had my shotgun baptism, I got into high school,
Right.
I'd done my thing. Then this fallout happened, and I always believed in God. I
Right.
absolutely always believed in God. But
Right.
church, reading my Bible, doing anything of a spiritual kind of sense, even praying, was very here, there, and everywhere, very sporadic.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was probably around 18. My dad had come back into my life when I was around 10, properly,
Okay.
consistently.
Okay.
And it was around 18 that he began to, kind of really talk to me about his faith.
All
He'd
right.
always talked about being a Seventh Day Adventist, and I'd known it. And other people in my family had been baptized on my dad's side, and I'd gone to those baptisms. So I knew about the faith,
Right.
but it wasn't something I was interested in doing. My mum was convinced it was a cult, and because
Okay.
they were still very, things were
Right.
very shaky between them still.
Okay.
She was very wary of allowing me to do certain things until I was 18. So
Right.
that's when kind of my dad started saying, look, this is the truth, really think about this. And, if you want to, you can start coming to church with me when you can.
Right.
I was a young girl. I was working in retail. Retail, you work a Sabbath. That's just it. It's the
Right.
busiest day of the
Yep.
week.
Yep.
There's no if, buts, or maybes about it. And it was, I went when I could. That's I can sum it up in only that way. When I could, I'd go. And then I met my husband when I was just about to turn 23.
Right.
And I tried to kind of bring him along with me whenever I had an opportunity. By this time I was senior management, so I could take those Saturdays off, and it wasn't so
Right.
much of a thing. um Honestly, it didn't really resonate with me because I felt like I was being judged,
Right.
because I wear jewelry,
Okay.
I wear
I was
makeup.
just about to ask, what was it that made you feel that you may have been judged? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just was different to a lot of the church girls, if you
Right.
like. That's
You
how
looked
I see
different. Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, and then of course I rock up with my Polish boyfriend, who I think, yeah, by that time we were living together. Our relationship skyrocketed in the beginning, and we had moved in with each other within, I think, 3 months of
Right.
seeing each other.
Right.
And although we didn't shout it from the hilltops, you don't go around going, I've moved in with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I think it was kind of common knowledge that, Byron's daughter is living with a
Right.
boyfriend. So it just felt like, I don't know really how to put it into the
Right.
correct words, because there were a lot of people who were so loving and
Right.
so welcoming, and it felt lovely. But
Right.
then you always had the side eye. You
Right.
always had the small double take, you know?
Right.
It's like,
Right.
what? That kind of thing. And it put me off thinking about anything seriously. It was just
Right.
something that I did. I could see my family. We'd
Right.
go and have fellowship with each other afterwards. And I loved that,
Right.
because I didn't grow up with my dad's side of the family. So initially, I guess that was my draw, the
Okay.
fact that I was able to be with my family in a way that I hadn't really experienced
Right.
before.
Right.
Um, and then I got married. Then I got
Okay.
married, and that pretty much changed everything for me from a perspective of spirituality.
Interesting. So, what was it? Because I was going to ask you what was the turning point, but it seems, what was it then about you getting married with, what's your husband's name again? His first name.
Matt, well, he likes to be called Matt because it's just easier, but
Right.
his real name is Mateusz, but just say Matt.
Okay, Matt. Okay. So, what was it that getting married to Matt? What was it then about getting married? Because I've never heard that before, that perspective, and this is what I'm hoping to find out with all the interviews. There's going to be different nuances, perspective that jolted or began a kind of journey. So, what was it about getting with Matt and marrying him that made you consider, let's say, spirituality in a more serious way?
The thing is, Mike, I never wanted to get married. Yeah, childhood
Okay.
was not easy. Yeah, my mum was, I have six brothers and sisters, only one of which is younger than me.
Okay.
Uh, 4 of them are on my mum's side, and only one of those is older than me. So my mum was always a single mum, despite having these kids. My 3 brothers are from different fathers,
Right.
and she was always a single mum, and I had a hell of a lot of responsibility growing up. My sister left home at a young age. It was nothing short of a chaotic childhood, yeah.
Okay.
And because of that, I was very much like, I'm not getting married, because even if you don't get married and you have kids, look what happens. So what's going to
Right.
happen when you do get married and have kids? It's going to be even messier. I don't have time for it in my life. I was very career driven. I was going to be the first female black judge. I
Wow.
was going, I had aspirations with law, and began studying for it, and quickly fell out of love with law because it's just so incredibly corrupt. And I just didn't want to go down that road, because I
Right.
wasn't sure that history wouldn't repeat itself. I didn't want to become the mother that my mum was when we were growing up. And I didn't want to make the mistake of being with a man who was going to be like my dad was when I was growing up.
Right.
So when I met Matt, it really completely threw me for six, because, as I say, our relationship, was just a whirlwind. And very, very quickly, I realized I was in love, and that this love felt, really different. It was like, oh no, what if this is forever? What's going to happen here? I did not sign up for this. So
So basically,
when
you
I
liked him very quickly.
Yes, yeah, I really did. I really did. It was shocking. Um, so when I realized that I did want to get married and that I did want to have kids, I was scared. I was really scared, because
Mm.
I just assumed that it was inherent in my family that we would all fail at
Right.
relationships and
Right.
parenting.
Interesting.
And I didn't want to do it. Then when he did ask me to marry him, I was never going to say no. That was just not an option. And I realized I wanted kids.
Mm.
I didn't want kids just on a normal kind of like generic scale. I wanted children with him,
Right.
and there wasn't anybody else I wanted to have those children with.
Right.
And I started seriously thinking, after we were married, I can't I can't have children and continue in a married life without a spiritual purpose. I
Hmm.
had always remembered my dad saying that God was at the center of his marriage, because obviously
Wow.
he married and had a
Right.
brother and sister,
Right.
my brother and sister, sorry, a son and a daughter. And he always used to say to me that God is at the center of his marriage, God is at the center of his family. And despite the mistakes my dad made and the terrible impact on me and my sister because of those mistakes, he had gotten it and has completely gotten it right this second time around. He
Right.
is absolutely one of the best men that I know. I love him to death. He is an
Okay.
amazing husband, an
Wow.
amazing father. He is a great son, a great brother. He keeps God completely at the center of everything
Hmm.
that he does. Any conversation that we have, I can guarantee you God will come up at
Right.
least 3 or 4 times as a minimum. And that's just a natural thing with
Right.
him. He'll just be
Right.
like, well, God willing, babes, or something like that. It will just be such a natural thing for him. And he's so happy, and
Hmm.
his wife is so happy, and
Man.
their children, the relationship they have with them, a relationship I never had to have with him. I could see the dad I had always wanted,
Yes.
when I knew that God had made that change in him. That wasn't something that had come from him. And
Right.
so when I got married, I thought, I can't be married and not have God at the center of my marriage. I can't have
Right.
children and not have God at the center of my family,
Right.
because what am I setting myself up for? I'm setting myself up for all the things that stopped me from wanting it in the first place.
Right. Right.
So it was important to me to mirror what, and it wasn't just my dad and his wife and their children, because he's come from the Seventh-day Adventist church, and he has so many friends that we call family,
Right.
that are they're married, they have long-standing 30-40 year marriages.
Right.
Their children are people I call cousins, good
Right.
men, good women, you
Right.
know just
So,
God is at the center of everything.
this is, let me jump in there, and if you don't lose your train of thought as well, but it might send you on different direction trajectory. But this is interesting because what I'm hearing is that there were examples where God wasn't just seen as, hey, we're going to go to this building, we have a set of beliefs, and we're Christians, we're Seventh Adventists. We go to this building on a particular day, and what you're seeing in their lives, their faith is being played out in this most important area of our lives, family and marriage. And hearing you say that is pretty profound, to be honest with you, because it wasn't just your father. You're mentioning his social circle, their children. You're seeing, and you're looking. It's almost like you're viewing from a distance and going, "I want some of
Yes.
them."
I want me some of that. I did not have stability, and
Right.
everything I was seeing was a model of stability. And I'm
Mm,
not trying to say that there wasn't problems and issues, because
of
this is
course.
life. You
Yes.
know,
Of
Satan is
course.
a part of everyone's life, professed Christian or not. And so
Yes.
there were strains, there were struggles, there were pregnancies outside of marriage and things like that. But I'm talking about the character of these
Mm,
people, the
right.
love, the commitment, the
Right.
faith, the honor, the loyalty,
Mm,
all amazing characteristics that I felt God had put into them. I could see God shining through these people. And I was so taken aback by how powerfully it hit me that I wanted to feel that. And
wow.
because I was married, it was even more important to me. I didn't want to feel like there was something missing in my marriage. I
Wow.
get married, I'm married forever. That is it. I'm not out here to be playing games. And if I feel there's something missing in my marriage, it's going to cause me a problem in the long run. And I felt like it was important that I give myself the opportunity to make my marriage, to make my family as full as it could be.
Right.
And from what I was seeing, and I see marriages without God, and I see relationships, perhaps on my mum's side, certainly without God, and it's not the same. There
Mm,
isn't that sense of fulfillment. There isn't that sense of satisfaction. There isn't that sense of, I've got something or someone I can lean on that
mm,
isn't tangible, that isn't somebody that I can hold on to. You know, there isn't that sense of support.
right. Right.
And it's sad to me to see that, because I'm consistently being told by those people in my life who do, you know, practice spirituality, that I'm this light within my mum's side of the family where God isn't very prevalent. And it's massive pressure to me, because I know I'm that light. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm one of the only God-fearing people in my mum's side of the family. And so it became even more important that if I'm going to do this, I need to do this right.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, in your journey, how did you transition from, let's say, you always believed in God, you had that genuine belief in God, but now you're like, I want God to be real and present in my life, my marriage, because I'm stepping into this important situation. I want it to work. I love this man. Didn't think I was even gonna be here, but somehow I'm here, and I want what they're eating. Can you serve me what they're eating? So how did you transition to, let's say, quote unquote, now becoming a Christian? What did that look like? You know, take me through those steps for our viewers. Take us through those steps. How did you get to that place where today now you're confidently saying, I know I'm that example. I know I'm a Christian. I'm carrying that name. How did that? Yeah, what happened?
It was a long and arduous road. I'm not even going to pretend, because it went from knowing the realization to then putting the work in, and realizing actually that it had always been something that I had craved, and I didn't even know it. And I'd been
Wow.
putting work in before that realization even came to my mind. Because when I did start to, for example, I'll give you the smallest example, but one that is so huge to me. I used to eat pork,
Right.
used to love my bacon, love my sausages, not an issue whatsoever. When I realized that I wanted to be at some stage, I didn't know when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen, but I realized that I wanted to be baptized at some stage. I remember walking through Horsenden Hill with my husband, which is where he proposed to me. And if anybody, any of the viewers know anything about Polish people, pork is a massive deal.
Okay.
Huge. Yeah, massive. Okay. And I said to him, look, babes, I'm thinking about giving up pork. In fact, I'm not even really thinking about it. I'm going to do it. And he was devastated. I used to do pork curry, yeah, that I'm not even going to lie to you. It was Chris. It was Chris. Yeah. I
Of
just
course.
picked myself up with that. Yeah. It was great. And he was just devastated, thinking he's never going to get that again.
Right.
Because I'm not just saying I'm giving up pork for me. I'm saying I'm not cooking
Oh,
it anymore. I'm not partaking
right.
of any of that anymore.
Right.
And it was the easiest thing in the world to do. When I stopped, I don't ever remember. The only time I look back was when I was pregnant with it's my first or my second, I don't remember.
The
And I had
craving.
this craving for this sandwich that we used to make with eggs and this Polish ham, and
Okay.
I won't go into the ingredients, but the point of it is I had this craving, and I remember the craving was strong. And I
Right.
said to him, like, you're just going to have to go out. I have to. I just have to. I took one bite of that sandwich and I was sick. I was like, oh,
Oh,
it was the most awful thing I'd ever tasted in my life. And
man.
he's out here going, you're exaggerating. You're just doing that to try and make a point. But I genuinely felt sick.
Okay.
And when I realized how easy it was for me to do something like that, I thought to myself, this is something I must have always wanted this. If I can pick
Interesting.
and choose and give up certain things that I'm doing in my life that I know that I shouldn't be doing, and I'm doing that with relative ease, I this must have been in my heart for the
Mm,
longest time, and I just didn't
interesting.
even realize.
Wow.
So I asked my stepmom and my uncle, one of the friends who becomes an uncle, because you just know them for so long.
Right.
I asked them to give me Bible studies. And they started giving me Bible studies. I'd have it after church every Sabbath. At this point, had we started the hub? No, I don't think the hub was started at this point. We were still, no, I tell a lie. No, we were at the hub. My family have created a church plant,
Okay.
and it's grown. And that's
Cool.
the church that I've attended for about 5 years now,
Yes.
5 or 6
Okay.
years. So I started the Bible studies, and after a year, I remember going to Watford Town Church to see somebody that I knew get baptized. And it was a big baptism with quite a few people being baptized. And no word of a lie, like there were like these children getting baptized. And I was looking at these children and I was thinking, wait, what is it that a 10-year-old can understand
Right.
about the way they want their life to be that I can't understand, that a year later I've still not made this decision? I'm not quite, like, honestly, I had to check myself because I was like, what's happening here? Is there a secret they know that I don't know? You know what I mean? Have they been taught something that someone's keeping from me? Is
Right.
there a vibe? Like, I'm trying to understand
Right.
what's going on here. And I looked at them being baptized, and honestly, I can't, the only way I can describe it is I was absolutely filled from the top to the bottom of my body with the Holy Spirit. I felt it. It was palpitating. It was just running through me like some kind of electric current, and
Wow.
I was physically shaking. I could not believe what I was feeling.
Wow.
And my daughter, I was with my daughter. My husband wasn't there. She was young. She was what, one, maybe something like that, really young. So I'm trying to tend to her while I'm having all of these crazy thoughts and feelings in my body. And I think I gave her to my dad or something like that, because I wanted my stepmom and my uncle, who had been giving me the Bible studies, I wanted them to be the first people that I told, because it was like a light bulb, not one word of a lie. It was a light bulb that I could feel had been flickering. You know, when a light bulb
Right.
flickers
Yeah.
before it
Yeah.
turns on,
Yeah.
sometimes it just flickers a little bit. And it had been flickering in me for well over a decade,
Right.
just flickering away. And suddenly it just came on. And
Right.
I went to them, they were standing together having a chat. And I just looked at them and I just said, look, it's time. And they
Mm.
were both like, what, you want to go home? Because they didn't really get where I was coming from. I said, no, 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 no. It's time. I want to get baptized.
Wow.
Stepmom immediately started crying, which I wasn't surprised about because she's a sensitive soul, bless her. And
Right.
they were just like, really? And I was just like, yeah, I'm not waiting. I don't want to wait anymore. I want to do this. I want to give my life to Christ. I can't be out here feeling this. I felt unfulfilled.
Mm.
I was slowly being filled up with
Yeah.
knowledge, and that's
Right.
great. That's
Right.
great. I was happy to have that knowledge to back up the faith that I was developing. Really
Okay.
happy to have that grow. But I felt like, what am I waiting for?
Right.
What exactly is it that I'm waiting for? Am I waiting for a moment in time? Am I waiting for a physical change? What am I waiting for? And I just felt like it just had to happen.
So
It just
let me
happened.
try and plug something out of you there, if I can, if possible. Could you have you thought about um trying to put into words to describe what you was waiting for, if it is possible? Were you waiting for something? What was you waiting for? What was you waiting for to happen as you're going through this, learning the knowledge, and you as you said, you're excited about this knowledge you're learning. It's helping your faith grow, taking that tiny little seed of faith, and it's growing and it's growing. Okay, but what was you waiting for? Could you conceptualize that? Had you thought about it yet?
Oh yeah, I know 100% what I was waiting for.
Right.
I was waiting to stop the things that I was doing that I felt were stopping me from giving myself wholly to God.
Okay.
So I used to smoke. I would smoke both cigarettes and weed. And I did that for, I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. I started smoking when I was 11
Wow.
cigarettes.
Wow.
And then I was on to smoking weed by the time I was around 13 or 14. And that continued right the way through my 20s. I
Okay.
actually only stopped smoking because I had my daughter. I had my daughter when I was 31, and I obviously was not going to smoke during my pregnancy. And
Right.
in my mind, I had it that as soon as I had her, I was going to go back. I needed a spliff or I needed a cigarette, and it was just simply going to happen.
Right.
And honestly, and I'm probably encroaching in questions that you might ask me going forward,
All
the
right.
ease with which I gave up this cigarette and weed in particular, I was what, and I'm not ashamed to say it because I feel so blessed that I've come through it. I was what you would 100% call a ganja baby. Okay, 100%. I'm just gonna break out a Snoop lyric here. I was wake and bake, baby. I was wake and bake. Okay, and it was something that I felt was a part of who I was. Smoking
Wow.
was a part of who I was, and the ease with which I just never smoked weed again.
No way.
It was just not something that came to my mind. It was just gone.
Right.
Yeah. So I was waiting for this whole time any other little thing that I
Right.
was doing, the pork, when I went back to smoking cigarettes, just I was never really a big swearer, but I could swear every now and again. I was
Right.
never really a big one, but I could definitely do that. I was waiting to stop listening to certain music,
Right.
waiting to stop watching certain films,
Right.
waiting to be able to quote the Bible without having to look it up. That kind of thing, waiting for what I assumed was the perfect depiction of what a Christian should be when they come to
Right.
Christ.
Okay, so then try and you've already described the sensation of knowing the Spirit of God was there with you, and then the thoughts that you was going through your mind. But these children are getting back. So what is it I'm not getting? Try and put that in. I want. What was the thought then, or right then and there, that made you get the confidence to say, I don't have to wait to be perfect. I can come to Him as I am. I don't know if there was. I know how you described it, but was there a thought? Was there something that just made it clear? You said, I can give my life to Christ like this, just the way I am. I can come with all of my struggles and imperfection. I'm gonna come and give my life in the state that I am.
I was done, Mike. I was done with pretending. I was done with striving to be something that was so hard, that I felt unsupported in. Nobody could help me be this perfect person that I was trying to be. It
Mm,
was all on me. The pressure I felt to
mm,
continuously put up airs and graces in front of this person or that person. Make sure
mm.
you don't say this. Make sure you don't do that. Make sure if you're going to smoke a cigarette, you do it around the corner, because if somebody see, I was just done. I was so
Right,
done with it. And
right.
I had recognized within me so many times when I had felt like that, and I had pushed it to the side. So I used to listen to gospel music quite frequently, because when I did start seeing my dad again when I was younger, of course, that's one of the only things that he would listen to. Well,
Right.
we would go up of a Friday, and of course, you're looking at Friday nights into Saturday being Sabbath. So it was constant gospel. And as I grew older, I still listened to that gospel when I was in my 20s. And I remember ringing him up one time. I was listening to The Commissioned, and I was listening to Running
Yes.
Back to You. And there's this lyric in Running Back to You where he says, I failed you so much. And I cried and I cried and and I rang my dad. I was like, what am I crying for? Can you
Wow.
explain to me what is happening here? I'm just chilling, listening to my gospel music, and I'm out here crying people rivers. What is happening?
Quickly.
Yeah,
Do you know, I've heard this experience from so many people who don't know that that's conviction. They don't know that when the spirit starts talking to them, because
yeah,
you don't know it. The information has to be told you what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
My dad
I've
was
heard
like,
that
babes, it's the Holy Spirit. I was like, what? He was like, it's the Holy
talking to
Spirit.
you. Yes.
As is talking to you right now. Do you understand? Pleading with your heart. And I
Yes.
was like, because I'd felt it so many other times before. You know, when you hear a deep sermon at
Yep.
church,
Yep.
doesn't happen a lot.
Yep.
But when you hear a deep sermon at church and someone touches you, I remember Stephen Fuller coming to Watford Town Church once.
Andrew Fuller's
And
brother.
yeah,
Yes.
he preached one sermon where he was literally on the floor in tears, and not one word of a lie, everybody in the church was crying.
Hmm.
Everybody was crying because we could all feel
You.
the spirit. This was before I was even baptized, but
Right.
I'd had these moments and I'd been fighting it. And every time I'd have these moments where I'd cry, I'd ring my dad, he'd say it's the Holy Spirit, or I'd be at church and someone, do you know what I mean? I'd have all of those moments, and
Right.
then I'd just push it to one side and go, let me go smoke a spliff. Let
Right.
me go smoke a cigarette. I'll feel better, because I
Right.
didn't like the feeling of helplessness. I
Right.
didn't like the feeling of loss of control. But when I was standing there watching these 10-year-olds get baptized, in my mind, my thought was, I am done. I'm done. I gave up the pork like that. I gave up the weed like that. What more am I waiting for? How much longer can I keep up the pretense that I feel 100% fulfilled within my life? And
Hmm.
that's not to say I wasn't happy. My
Yes.
husband is an amazing man. My daughter, I'd had a very traumatic pregnancy. We'd both nearly died when she was
Wow.
born. It was
Wow.
horrendous, and I had a lot of really bad feelings and thoughts towards that as well. I'd had serious problems with my family after my daughter was born as well, because they didn't like my mum's side of the family. They didn't like my husband. I had been their rock for so long, and even throughout our normal relationship, I'd continued in that vein. But when I got married and I became a wife, I switched, I changed, and
Right.
then motherhood changed me even more, and
Right.
they became back burner to my number one priority, and it
Right.
caused huge ripples and huge
They felt
problems.
you were kind of like disowning them.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
priorities kind of
exactly.
changed a little bit, but they saw it a bit differently.
Exactly. So I'm out here like, all of these things are happening. I've got all of this pressure on me, and I'm going on like to say I can handle it on my Jack Jones. Like going to a Bible study on a Sabbath and reading the word is enough.
Mm,
Like coming out and seeing a baptism and feeling the Holy Spirit is enough. It
mm,
wasn't enough. I was happy. Of course I was happy, but it wasn't enough. There was something missing. And when I saw it, I said, I'm done. I'm done with pushing that feeling away and saying, oh, no, no, no. there's something, I'm not ready. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
I've got to
right.
wait. I've got to wait. I was just done with it. And I said, you know what? If I cannot come to Christ the way I am now, then whatever I've been doing for the last year and a half with these Bible studies, I've just been playing myself.
Hmm.
I must have just been playing myself, because everything I've read, everything I've looked at, everything I've been able to back up through evidence is nothing but love. So how can this love that I'm seeing be conditional, where it's like, but only when this, only
Okay.
when
Okay.
that?
All right. All right. All right. All right. You said my favorite word now, right? You said it.
Conditional.
No, well, it was connected to my favorite word, love. How can I?
Uh,
I got it out of you. I got it. Finally, we got there. Because I know it's in there. We've known each other for a little while now, and I hear it in your experience. I hear it when you ask questions in studies and what have you. And so bring that out for us a little bit more. What to you now, in Claire's own way, how would you describe the realization of that love? So before, now, how has it kept you? And you learning more about this love. What was it about that love? Yes, that got you to make a decision, but also has kept you as well. Because why haven't you quit? Why are you still? Why are you on this call with me talking about? God, why haven't you quit? I know for a fact there's going to be moments where you feel like, boy, you know what? Let me throw in the towel. I know I've asked about 4 questions there, but you feel me, Claire. You feel me.
I know you. I know
You
you
know
would
me.
love to know. There's another couple of questions in
Yeah.
this question. You know what? This love that I have found in Christ has been has been has been the benchmark from which the foundation from which I have been able to branch out and grow in so many different areas of my life. And when I look at this love and I feel this love, and I think about this love and how it has saved me and the way it has changed me and the conviction it has given me, I can't for a minute even begin to fathom why it took me so long, why I felt like I was waiting. What was it? And I've sat down, I've tried to think about it. I've tried to think about, was it people? Was it the church? But it feels too easy. It feels too easy to say it was this person or it was that church
Right.
or this elder, or that feels too easy for
Right.
me. It feels like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, because this is where God has put me. And
Right.
this is the time that it all happened, how it happened, when it happened, how it happened. It was supposed to happen in that way.
Right.
And
So,
even though
so
I can
quickly,
look
just
back,
clarification. Are you saying then, just that little point, are you then saying you're feeling content in the way the journey has happened?
I think content is a really strong word,
Right.
because I do rue things. I do.
Right.
I try
Okay.
not to regret,
Right.
because I feel like if I do regret, I am dismissing or belittling where I am now.
Right.
And if I hadn't have gone through those things and hadn't have had those experiences, would this be the same now? Would
Right.
I be where I am? Would I be married? Would I have my kids?
Right.
So I try not to regret, but
Okay.
I do. I'll be honest with you, that is
Right.
just, I think, a human trait that
Right.
I think would be very difficult to shed myself
Right.
of.
Okay.
But you know what it is about this love, Mike? I am a professed Christian.
Right.
I will scream it from the hilltops. I don't mind who knows.
Right.
But there's still so much of myself, of my spiritual life, of my Christian walk, that I need to develop, that I need to grow, that I need to work on. I
Right.
mean, me, without our Friday night studies, I could go through a week, the whole week, and not pick up a Bible,
Right.
because it's this, it's
You're
that. I'm
yes.
working, I'm studying, I got the kids, I got to be a wife, I got to look after home, there's so much. I'm a carer for my grandparents. I'm this staple within my family, especially on my mum's side, where I'm that go-to person. Got a problem? Call Claire. Need something sorted? Call Claire. So I've
Right.
got all these things and all these, just a mess of things going through my mind. And in my head, I'm like, even though I'm not even giving God this time, this attention that he deserves, that he should be getting from me, the love he has for me, where he's still blessing me, he's still he's still allowing me just to wake up in the morning. My
Mm,
husband's still getting that promotion. I'm still being given
mm,
this opportunity to be able to study. I've just been offered a job without even having to do an interview. Today I was offered a job without even having to interview. She looked at me, she spoke to me, and she offered me the job. This is God. There's no possible way that it can be anything else. And so that's why I don't quit, Mike.
mm.
That is why I don't quit. I have a long way to go. I still make serious mistakes in my life on a daily basis. I don't profess to be perfect. I don't think I ever will be, but I will not quit, because I see what his love has done in my life, what it
Mm.
continues to do, and I will never turn my back on that.
Hmm. Boy, Claire, you're making me feel emotional, boy. Woo. Seriously,
Don't,
man.
because I ain't out here to cry on live TV. Okay, we're not living that life.
Oh man. What? Okay. My last question, wrapping things up now. Um, what advice would you give your younger self, not in age, in terms of, let's say, this journey, in terms of your younger self, that, yeah, what advice would you give your younger self as the Claire that was, as you mentioned in the past? Why did it maybe take you so long? Was it this? Was it that? What advice would you give your younger self as you were coming to the knowledge of who God is, who Jesus is, and learning about this love, going through the studies, attending church, blah blah blah? What if you could, those movies you go back in time, and I remember Back to the Future. Me and you got so much in common. It's crazy. So you should know about Back to the Future, right?
Listen,
Right.
don't
Okay.
one,
Okay.
two, or three. 1, 2, or 3.
All
Just
of
tell me.
them. All
Okay,
of
all right.
them.
I'll live with
All of
that. I'll
them.
live with
But the first was the classic. The
Yeah,
first one, right?
obviously.
It's got a cult following. So
Or maybe the Navigator, because then you could go back in time and then you could come forward. Yeah, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that.
So, what would you tell your younger self? What advice, if you could give them one? It's going to be hard to really think about, but one major advice you'd give your younger self. What would that be?
Probably not to be so hard on myself.
I like that.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't expect so much from yourself,
I like that.
because there are things you cannot do of yourself. It's just not. People, I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. I've lived that life where I have done, I was assuming everything I was doing for myself. I moved out of home when I was 18 years old. I say
Wow.
moved out, got kicked out when I was 18 years old. I sustained myself. I lived by myself. I've traveled by myself. I
Wow.
got my jobs. I moved up within the ranks of retail. I became senior management. I was poached and headhunted. I had this experience. I went to this country. I wined and dined people. I smooched them over dinner and got them to invest in X, Y, and Z. And I had all of these amazing accomplishments that I felt I had achieved. Yeah, I stood up and I was just like, I've done this. Nobody else has helped me to get here. The childhood that I had, the things that I had to go through, the lack of consistency and love in my life when I was growing up. And I pushed against all of that and gave myself massive pressure to be the best at everything that
Right.
I tried to do.
Right.
And because of that, it gave me a really warped view of life, and
Right.
it made me believe something about myself that isn't true, that
Right.
I needed to wait, that I had to do things to come to Christ. I
Right.
had put so much pressure on myself to be the person who I believed not just God, but everybody around me would want to see
Right.
before I was baptized. And that pressure, it was not sustainable. It was not something that I could continue to live with.
Right.
And I would say to my younger self, breathe, shut, breathe, relax. Like, honestly, God has got this. And
Mm.
even though there are things in my life to even today that I truly still struggle with. I only properly 100% gave up smoking cigarettes last year on my
Right.
birthday. I
Right.
was a smoker when the chips were down. So
Right.
if stuff happened, I'd go
You
back to it.
right,
Just,
okay. When
it was
things really
easy.
got the pressure came,
Yeah,
you feel like you have to go back to. But then when things are
exactly.
cool, you could go on for maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
A
Oh,
year, a year, Mike,
right,
a year and
okay,
a half. My
okay.
mum used to call me a joker smoker because
You, you weren't a
literally
real. You weren't
the,
really. Yeah.
the way I could drop it was not even a joke. But even that in itself, was that me just dropping it for that year and a half? No,
Right,
no.
right,
And, when I think about now, the conviction I have to never smoke again, I can walk past somebody and they're smoking a cigarette. And I have always loved the smell of cigarette smoke. I don't ask me
yeah.
why
You
I'm a
mentioned that before.
and I can walk past somebody smoking and I'll just be like, and then I just walk on, and then I just walk on. There's no part of me that thinks, let me just pop to the shop. Let me just grab a pack. Let
Right,
me just have one. I
right,
used to keep an emergency stash for emergencies. I
right,
don't even have that stash anymore. I got rid of it
right,
because that emergency stash was just a reason to smoke, isn't it?
right,
So when I think back to my younger years and I think back to how much pressure I would have put on myself
right.
at that point for doing the things that I did, for saying the things that I did, for turning my back on certain people and acting a certain way, I'd say to myself, you need to relax yourself because actually, if you just give yourself to God, if you just do it, don't wait, don't hold back, stop assuming that there's this benchmark that you need to reach. Stop assuming that every little thing that you do that you deem to be wrong or somebody else deems to be wrong. Forget what you are doing. So many people can have judgments about what you do and how you live your life. And unconsciously in your mind, it makes you believe that you're not ready for something that
Mm,
is offered to you free. It's a gift that is free. You're not out here having to pay anything for it. How can this sum already have been paid for you? But because somebody else is, look at the way that, look at her skirt, see, or some kind of rubbish like that, that's going to be the thing that stops you. Look at a Polish boyfriend. They live together. That's going to stop me.
mm,
Now, I'd have to tell myself, in the words of a great, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
mm.
Yeah, because that's what you're going to end up doing. You're going to end up wrecking yourself if you do not stop living for other people and start living for yourself, for the love that you want to feel within your life, for the changes that you want to make, and know that you can't do by yourself.
What a bombshell to end on. What a bombshell. I'm not even gonna add to that. I'm serious. I'm not even gonna. I hope the listeners, whoosh, boy, 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 that you've left me speechless. I'll be honest.
You know what, Mike? I'm out here I've always tried to be real in everything that I do. Yeah. I haven't always succeeded, but I pride myself in trying to be as open a book as I can be. I don't want to pretend and to be out here pretending that life is perfect.
Mm.
Life is perfect. That I have no problems. That God showers me with blessings. I'm rich. I've got all the things that I need in my life and I don't want for anything. It's exhausting.
Mm.
Putting on airs and graces, it's exhausting.
100%.
Pretending that you don't want God is exhausting.
I
It's
like that.
so much more pressure and stress than just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it. It's so much more. And when you come to that realization, when you actually give yourself to God and you realize that the weight that's taken off of your shoulders from pretending that you didn't want it, that you didn't need it, you were good. I'm good. I'm living my life. I've got a good job. I'm in a good relationship. Everything's good. Why rock the boat?
Mm.
Why do it just because there's something in me that I don't quite understand? Why do that when I'm probably not ready? I still like to go out, have a drink. I still like to this. I still like to that. Why put yourself through that for something that you don't even have to pay for?
That's what got me, man. that statement you said, people's judgment of who you are, judging you for where you are in your life, the things you're doing, is going to stop you for something that you don't even have to pay for. I was like, those are bars, man. I'm being convicted. I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is so encouraging. I'm telling you, twice. When you see me do this, that's me fighting this. Let me give a secret here to women. When you see a man do this, that's his little like holding back, because it's like your little shield you have to hide behind. Like,
yeah.
I had to assume the position.
Yeah, assume the position. I love it.
I had to assume Claire, this has been marvelous.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah, of course. This is your time, Claire.
To anybody who's watching right now, and to anybody who thinks that they're not worthy, that they have gone too far, that they have done too much, that there's no way back for them, trust me when I say you could not be further away from the truth. I used to self-harm. When I was a teenager, and I went through so much guilt because I had been trying to hurt myself. This temple, this body that God had given me, I'd been trying to hurt it deliberately. That was another reason why. The smoking, the drinking. I was with people you wouldn't even believe. I grew up in various different places in London. I'm saying to you now, yeah, that it doesn't matter if you're 16, 17, 25, 27, 40, 41, 50, 52. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what you've done, where you've been, who you've done it with. It doesn't matter where you believe you are in your life at this exact moment in time. None of that matters. If there is something in here that feels like it's missing, don't wait, because you've got nothing to wait for. You're not missing out on anything. This is the last thing I'm going to say, because it's so, in my mind, it's so poignant. Yeah. If I don't believe in Christ and I live my life and I die and Jesus is real and God is real, imagine what I'm missing out on. If I live my life with God, with Christ, and I die, and Christ comes again, and I go to heaven, imagine where I'll be. So what am I really losing by believing in God? Because at the end of the day, I'm not losing anything. I'm gaining. It's anybody who doesn't believe in Christ and lives their life and does whatever, and then you wake up on Judgment Day, and bam, actually it's real. Will everything that you've done, all that waiting, be worth it? In my mind, it's just a hard pass. I'm here for Christ every time. And I hope that anything I've said today would resonate with anybody, because there's nothing you can do that Christ won't forgive.
You've heard it, people. Come to the next one. And yeah, if this is what it's going to be like every evening, then waiting for a real treat. I want to thank you, Claire. Thank you so much for your time, your vulnerability, your honesty, your passion, your humor, the whole package. Thanks. I'm not even Jamaican, but boy, I grew up in Southeast London. I grew up in a church full of West Indians, so boy, thank you. Claire, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. So people, same time tomorrow evening, same place. See you there. Please, I don't have to say please, man. If you think this was good, you're going to share it. All right? So do what you're doing and take care. God bless you all, and see you, God willing, tomorrow evening. Bye-bye.